roundtable.
Camelot. It's only a model.
Two of my favorites, and I know two of yours. We have Cory Lavalette from The Athletic and North State Journal, Ryan Henkel from The Hockey News. They both join us on the Adam Gold Show as we roundtable the start of the Hurricanes season. All right, I will ask you guys for predictions at the end, but I'll start with you, Cory. Why do you think the analytical community seems to favor Carolina, where some using the eye test do not?
You know, we just spoke to John Cooper and I spoke to Victor Hedman after their skate this morning, and I asked both of them, how does your mentality change with the changes that Carolina's made this year? And they said, nothing changes at all. And John Cooper specifically said, Rod Brind'amour is going to have skill players, grinders, everyone playing the same way. And I think that's why the analytic community loves the Hurricanes is you know what you're going to get, right? I mean, yes, you want to have guys who can score on a whim, but at the same time, you also want consistency, and that's something the Hurricanes have in spades.
Ryan, is it good that what John Cooper said, that he has that basically the Hurricanes throughout their lineup play the same way?
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, that's kind of what you want. You want your team to have an identity. You want them to play a specific way, a certain style. And especially with the Canes having, they lost some offensive talent. Having four lines that you can roll out and you can dominate a team, along the boards or on the forward check for 60 minutes will tire teams out. And, when you have a tired team playing against you, you have better odds of scoring and winning.
Ryan Henkel is joining us, as is Cory Lavalette, a special Hurricanes roundtable to get the season going against the Lightning tonight. And for people who don't know, tomorrow's game, which was scheduled for Amalie Arena in Tampa tomorrow evening, has been postponed. The NHL has not yet decided when that game will be replayed. We know it will. We just don't know when. So, Ryan, let me go back to you. One of those players who a lot of fans especially want Rod to kind of take the shackles off of Martin Necas. How does Necas play this way but still be Necas?
I think it's just about committing to playing a full 60-minute effort. I mean, obviously, forwards aren't going to be playing the full 60 minutes, but it's things like when he's in the defensive zone, not kind of just sitting back and watching a guy skate to the front of his net and get a tap in. He's got to skate his butt off up and down the ice. Every shift he's on is never taking a break, never taking a breath. He's got to be on top of things, playing hard for Rod to give him, kind of that more of a leeway leash in the offensive zone. I think that's when we'll see Nate just take another step, when he is fully committed to that 200-foot game that we've seen, sometimes here and there, but we've also seen it not be there.
Well, that is no question. I'm just going to shift this conversation back to you, Cory, because here's what I noticed with Necas. He played a little bit more than a minute per game less last year. Some of that we could say, well, he's not on the top power play unit. He still got a lot of power play time, and he was actually, I think, second in terms of 5-on-5 ice time among forwards, if not first in that. So he made up for it. He didn't get any penalty kill time. But here's the thing. Defensively, that was the big drop-off from 2 years ago, because the goals per 90 and points per 90, or rather per 60, that's a hockey thing, a soccer thing for me, goals and points per 60 were kind of similar. Matter of fact, goals was identical. It was 1.1. So what do you think the difference was?
I don't even know that necessarily 2 years ago he was better defensively. I mean, he was still among the top players in the league and, goals against when he was on the ice among forwards. So, to Ryan's point, I think they need that commitment. Like, Rod is never going to be like, forget about defense, just go score your goals. It's never going to happen. And people can, scream about it until they're blue in the face. It's not going to happen because it's just, that's not what Rod Brind'amour thinks hockey is. Ryan's right. You need a guy who he is the fastest skater on the ice when he has the puck on his stick, which most players slow down when they have the puck. He's still electrifyingly fast. There is no reason he shouldn't be the fastest player on the ice when back checking. So they just need that commitment from him to know. And Seth Jarvis has said it to me. Sebastian Aho said it to me a week ago. It all starts in your own end. Like, you create offense by being in control of the game when you have to play defensively. You can't run around and look for offense when your job is to play defense. And, you got to hope that Martin Necas finds that in his game. I mean, you can't be a top player if you don't, and you certainly can't be a center, which is what Martin Necas always wanted to be, if you don't, and that's why he's not. So, it's a pivotal year for him because, no, he's not in the contract year, but yes, after this year, if things don't go well or things are the same, the Hurricanes are going to look to find a new home for him if they don't think he's a long-term answer. They're not going to be able to trade him after 2 years because he'll be an unrestricted free agent and walk away. So a big year for him and a big year for the Hurricanes as far as arguably their most talented players.
I'm going to we're going to leave Necas, but I'm just going to close it on here. I think that if we get to the trade deadline and we haven't seen a different and more defensively responsible Necas, I think that's where his Hurricanes career ends. I don't believe we'll get to next year. I don't think we'll get to the final year of his contract. I think it'll happen at the deadline, but I don't know. I am bullish on 88. I think the absolute world of him. I think he wants to be great. I really do. And I think we saw last year when Kuznetsov, Necas, and Svechnikov got together. I don't know about you, but I assumed that line was made for each other, and they were a disaster, and Rod couldn't separate them fast enough. I don't know, maybe he should have stuck with it just for giggles, late in the regular season, but he could not wait to get to break those guys up. The other guy on that line, the other guy is Andrei Svechnikov, but I want to go to the middle. And I know, Cory, you have been I'll just say a proponent. You have been, this guy can be good in Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And you and I have differed in many ways about what he is. What is his ultimate job? Define success for Jesperi Kotkaniemi for me?
And I want to go back to what Rod said to me when I asked him pretty much that same question. I said, does Jesperi need to be a point producer to be your second-line center? And he basically said yes. So Jesperi needs to learn how to put the puck in the net consistently, how to be a distributor to these incredibly talented players that are flanking him, and, find a way to avoid the mental lapses that we see. And I don't think it's a lack of effort defensively, but I saw it in the preseason, and it's the preseason, but I've seen it so many times before of just reckless passes through the neutral zone that send the puck the other way, and that's just not how the Hurricanes want to play. They would much rather he flip it in the air and you live to fight another day than force something. So there just needs to be a maturity on that level of he needs to, make the smart plays, not try to force anything. He needs to use these two talents he has on his wings. He needs to shoot the puck more because he has a spectacular shot.
Yeah, he does.
And he needs to not get down on himself. We see what he can do when he's dialed in. We see how physical he can be. We see how big he can be, or how big he is. He's got the size to be a top flight center. It's frustrating to see it not all come together. And to me, this is the final chance. Like, Rod Brind'amour has over and over again handed him the second line center role. Once Vincent Trocheck left, that's your job. He couldn't hold on to it last year. Jack Drury's a good player. Jack Drury's not a second line center either. So if Jesperi can't get this done, and the big thing is that he'd be a perfectly fine third line center, but that job is tied up in perpetuity. Jordan Staal could probably play till he's 50. And so, I don't think it's it's going to be a cut bait thing, because I think his contract is low enough and there's enough there that you can think in your head he's, at worst, he's a third line center, and that's okay. And and eventually Jordan Staal is probably going to become a fourth line center. Let's be honest. But for this year, if he wants to be something more than a third line center, he needs to show it. I mean, it's Missouri season. It's show me you can do it.
Ryan Henkel and Cory Lavalette are joining us here on a special Canes roundtable. Ryan, how much runway do you think Rod gives Jesperi?
I can see it kind of going through, I'd say through December-ish, as I put it, depending on, obviously where they sit in the standings and all that. But I think there was a similar kind of runway for him last year where he had, really good, really strong numbers, kind of led the team, 15 points in his first 21 games before he hit that huge wall in the November to December, January, where he was just going 17, 22 games without a goal. I mean, I could see a similar runway for him. Granted, if the team is still in playoff position, granted, things always change when panic sets in.
Yeah.
But I could see it. I could see the runway being good. Because, like Cory said, the talent is there. We've seen him being able to make plays. I think back 2 years ago when he was playing with Svechnikov and Necas before Svechnikov was hurt. Kotkaniemi was actually probably the most consistent producer for the Canes towards the end of the regular season. He was up there with, Sebastian Aho for being the most productive player on the team. We've seen it. He can do it. He has the body to do it. It just almost feels like just a mental thing. Like you have to understand when and where, what the time is, when the play is to make it.
All right, now we're going to go all the way to the goal here, and I'll start with you, Ryan. Ryan Henkel, Hockey News, is joining us here, along with Cory Lavalette of The Athletic and North State Journal, as we do a special Canes roundtable in advance of tonight's opener. I guess it's the opener. It's the opener for the Hurricanes. I think the Devils' season came to an end already. They have played so many games. Now, Rod brind'amour would not tell us today that Frederik Andersen is starting in goal. He's playing coy, but I thought he gave it away yesterday when he had to check on his intended starter. Everything came out okay after practice. It pretty much gave away the game there, but we'll play along, and we don't know, air quotes, who's starting today. If it was up to you, Ryan, who would it be?
That's a great question. Because I think Andersen is better than how his season ended last year. I think he's been one of the better goaltenders the last decade or so. I think he had a tremendous regular season coming back from blood clotting injury.
Yep.
So I think, with time and rest and, understanding of his condition, potentially just strong enough to be, because I truly think it could be a true 50-50 split this season. But there's also the side that you have to see what you have in Fyodor Kochetkov. Andersen is 35 now. He's at the end of his contract. And, Kochetkov is young. He's the guy. He's supposed to be your heir apparent. You have to see if he can be the guy. So, at some point in the season, they have to see if he can take the reins and run with him. And why not, game one, do it. But, I think it's all symbolic and whatnot. Andersen was brought in to be the guy. They still think he could potentially do it for him. So it's weird. I'd still give it to Freddie. Let him take that first game.
Right, Cory, tell me if I'm wrong. Ryan did not seem convinced. I think Ryan wants to say it should be Kochetkov. But I get, to me, it's not a cop out. It's the easy route to say Freddie's the veteran. He's got that starter in him, and maybe there's still a flame to light under Kochetkov. What are your thoughts? Who would you start game one?
Kochetkov. Absolutely. It's, for lack of a better term, it's time for the coaching staff, the front office, whoever, to say this is our guy. It's bleep or get off the pot time not for Kochetkov, but for the people that make the decisions about who their goalie is. I think it should be him. I mean, I think you've seen his ability to get hot. When he's on, he's so good. There's an energy when he plays that is almost, and you can look at this two different ways, but there's an energy when he plays the team and the fans feed off of, and that can rattle opponents. Freddie's the opposite way. You could say that what you want out of a goalie is, steady. If he gives up a goal, you want him to come back and look like nothing happened. I think back to Game 6 against the Rangers. He gives up that bad goal that starts to Kreider, that starts the Kreider natural hat trick in the third period. And, you know, if that's Kochetkov in net and he gives up a bad goal, do you want, you know, who do you want there? Do you want the stoic guy who forgets it? Or do you want the guy who knows this is a moment where you need to shake off and get mad and rise up to the situation? And that's what goaltending is all about. It's one of those two things. Either you want the jerkish Jordan Binnington type of guy in there, or you know, Patrick Waugh, whoever you want to give as an example as a fiery goaltender, or you want, you know, the guy who is steady in, you know, the Curtis McElhinney. You know, God, I mean, that guy, you could, I think, you know, throw his cat off of a roof before a game and you wouldn't be able to tell. So, you know, to me, it's Kochetkov. I think you have to. You got to do it at some point. You gave the kid a long-term contract, not for a lot of money,
right?
But this last year of Anderson, you need to find out. He doesn't need to play 60 games to be your number one goalie, you know. And it might do Freddie good to know he only has to play 30. But I think you just have to. I think you got to make the move. Tonight, I think you're probably right. It's probably going to be Anderson because for the same reason that Jordan Staal is going to play 17 minutes for as long as he plays for Rod Brind'amour, Frederik Anderson's going to get starts in net above other people as long as Rod Brind'amour's coach, I think, because he values that consistency. But I think you got to go. I think you got to hand the baton to the kid at some point.
First of all, if it were me, and I have disagreed with the head coach before. People don't believe this, but I have. If it were me, it would be number 52 all day long in Game 1. Because symbolically, I think you want to say, this is yours. It's yours if you want it. Now, it's always, and people get crazy about this when we get to the postseason. Why is Rod only using one goalie in the postseason? Because he decides who his number one goalie is, and he goes with that person. That's the way he has always been, even though every season has been, for the most part, a goalie share. Whether it was Mrazek and ultimately McElhinney that first year, or it's Mrazek and Reimer. The only one that really wasn't was Anderson and Ranta, but they were both hurt so much that it was hard to even tell. And then when we got to the playoffs, Ranta started the playoffs 2 years ago. Wasn't even Anderson. Anderson came in late in that first series against the Islanders and closed that one out. But yeah, he's always done a in-season timeshare and has chosen his guy. So I think even if it's Kochetkov as your number one, you're talking about, let's just go a 45-35 split or a 46-36 split. It's going to be almost indistinguishable. And I will just say that Jordan Staal averaged 15-23 of ice time last year, Cory Lavalette. All right, final question for you both, and I'll go Cory first and then Ryan. Give me who Carolina's best player, not best scorer, most important player, not named Jacob Slavin, or a goalie, will be this upcoming year. You could define it however you want. And Carolina will make the playoffs with how many points?
I mean, it's Sebastian Aho, even with Jacob Slavin in the conversation, I think. He drives the bus on this team. I mean, I think he could have a really big year this year because I think he's going to see that he needs to be an even bigger part of what they do. So I think Sebastian Aho is the most important player. I think you make a case for Slavin. I think Jarvis is going to be an absolute superstar, and he's going to be there soon too. As for points, I'll say 104, and I say they'll battle for the top of the division, probably with the Devils. I'm not very bullish on the Rangers. So I think the point total will be down for the winner of that division.
Yeah.
But I think the Hurricanes will be right in there in 104, 106 range.
Nice. That just makes me even believe it even more. Ryan, same question that took me too long to ask Cory.
I mean, I agree with Cory that Sebastian Aho is the most important player on the team. But to make it more interesting, I will choose someone different. I will say that the team really, really needs Andrei Svechnikov to be a star.
Yep.
I think he has been a great player for the Carolina Hurricanes, but I would not say he has yet been a star in the league. I think this is a guy that he has all of the talents to be a 35, 40 goal guy, a 70, 80 point plus guy. He's got the physical body for it. He's got the size. He's got the shot. He's got the vision. He has the full package. He just needs to just show that he is capable of being a star-level talent on this team. Again, I think he's an amazing player, great player. I just think he has not reached stardom yet. And I think if the Canes want to be a competitive team this year, they need Andrei Svechnikov to be a game-breaking talent.
And Hurricanes points and playoffs, yes or no?
I say playoffs, and I say 101 points. I think they're going to be, I think they'll not be a wild card team, but I think they will be, fighting for that 3-2 spot in the division.
All right. By the way, Andrei Svechnikov, 130-goal season in his career, but it was 30 on the button, and has never cracked 70 points in the league. 35 goals for Andrei, 85 points, and he becomes one of those guys. No longer potential, it becomes production. Cory Lavalette from North State Journal and The Athletic, Ryan Henkel, Hockey News, and other places. Sir, I appreciate both of you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you in a little bit.
Sounds good, AJ.
Good night, Adam.